Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mindfulness, Meditation, and Manifesting. This is Jenna Allen, and I am guiding you through awakening your inner warrior or inner goddess, if you prefer. And I hope that since last week you were able to squeeze in about 5 minutes for yourself to practice mindfulness a few times this past week. If not longer than 5 minutes, would be great. 15 is a good starting point, but if you're at 5 minutes or even just 30 seconds, it's no matter what you're doing mindfulness, no matter what you're succeeding, and you're doing it right because you're doing it. And no matter what, if you're putting the work in, you are making strides toward living a more fulfilling life. And we're going to keep building. We're going to keep building this practice, and we're going to do it together. So let's move forward. So, what mindfulness is and what mindfulness isn't. We want to look at that today. And these are all on the worksheet that accompanies this video. So, if you've got that handy, make sure you've got it out, you're ready to go. And if not, go ahead and print it. Or maybe you want to email me and get a copy of it too. All right. So, mindfulness is not relaxation. It is not relaxation. It's not about quieting or clearing the mind. It's not. We may experience states where the mind is a little bit slowed down, but most of the time we won't. We never ever want the mind to slow down. We never ever want the mind to do anything except for what it is doing, and we want to observe it. I've recently had a client who said, Jenna, my practice is so much better in the morning. My mind is so much calm. I did it today in the afternoon and I just couldn't calm my mind. Well, but that's not the point. It's actually better to do your mindfulness practice when the mind is busy so that you can get to know the habits of the mind. That's why we're here. We're getting to know the habits of the mind, and we can't get to know the habits if we stop thinking. Right? And we're not here to transcend the body. I'm in my PhD course, and I was just writing about how mindfulness is an embodiment practice. It's getting into the body, it's getting into the thoughts, rather than trying to transcend anything or not be of the mind and body. Mindfulness is all about being of the mind and of the body, and that means of the busy go of the mind. And that's an even better way and a better time to do mindfulness is when the mind is busy and going. So if it's not to clear the mind, this is going in an opposite order than what I thought, so let's keep talking. The purpose of mindfulness is not relaxation. Mindfulness meditation might be deeply relaxing at times, and you'll experience states of calm and ease, but it's never the goal. It's never ever the goal to relax, because then we're striving for something else, right? Sometimes when we practice, we're just not relaxed, and we can't force relaxation, right? And mindfulness wouldn't be forcing. That's harsh. That's judgmental. Jenna, you're not relaxed. Like, we don't need to be mean to ourselves. Fuck that, right? And if we're not relaxed, we want to be like, oh, wow, Jenna, you're just not relaxed today. I love you. You're not relaxed, and that's okay, right? We don't want to fight with ourselves or force anything, right? And so it's not our goal to be relaxed. Our goal is to be goalless. Our goal is to be present with what's already here in this moment, and if possible, holding it with kindness. So the goal is letting go of the goal. The goal is letting go of any goal at all. And non-striving is a practice in mindfulness. If I were to sit down with a busy mind and want to relax, then I'm striving to be somewhere that I'm not already. Mindfulness is be where you're at already. Don't try and be over there. because then you're going to judge yourself harshly for not being over there. You're going to feel like you're not good enough because you're here and not there. You're going to feel like life is not how it's supposed to be, or that you're not how you're supposed to be. And that's all really harsh and kind of mean. So we want to be nice to ourselves. And that's why we say, if possible, holding it with kindness, right? We're starting to learn to see the judgments. And as we see the judgments and the harsh quality that our mind has, then it starts to dissipate, because then we're like, hey, I don't want to be judgmental against myself. I want to choose to be kind, right? And mindfulness is the perfect practice to try and do that. Okay. Mindfulness is not suppressing negative feelings. That's one of the things that critics of mindfulness talk about, and really they've never done mindfulness if they think that's what it's about, because mindfulness is actually coming face to face with the negative feelings. It's actually being with them and paying more attention to them than we had been, because they've been stuffed all down under the surface, and they're actually those negative feelings that we have are impacting our decisions, our choices, the way we're interacting with people in the world, and what we're manifesting back to us, because the universe reflects to us what's inside. And if I have all these negative feelings that I'm not looking at, then I'm going to keep getting reflections from the universe, so that the universe is like, hello, look at these negative feelings under the surface. We're going to keep giving you negative shit until you look at them. And mindfulness is an amazing and magical way of looking at them rather than suppressing them. Okay. Mindfulness is not a quick fix. While sometimes you'll feel deeply at peace, and some people will feel at home right away when they're starting their mindfulness practice. But that's not the case for most people. And many times when we do meditation, we'll feel bored, we'll feel restless, we'll feel anxious. And so it's a practice that, it's a process. Our practice is a process that unfolds over time. And we'll get to see that we become more and more at home with ourselves in the busyness, in the depression, in the anxiety, in the shit. And then we're not avoiding it all the time. And again, needing the universe to give us clues and signs for deal with this, whatever this is, right? So anyway, it's a practice. It's a process. It unfolds over time, right? It is not a technique. It is more of a way of life, a way of living. And it's a new lens through which we choose to see what's happening in our life. And you'll understand what that means as we move along here. But we start to see all of life in a different view that's quite zen and quite fulfilling, actually, too. So, all right, my slides are doing funny things. Well, first of all, mindfulness is not a, we need to go back here. There we go. All right, mindfulness is not a religion. It is a practice and a philosophy. It's derived from Buddhist tradition, but it's not a religion. And actually, Jon Kabat-Zinn is a scientific researcher who also went and studied in monasteries and came back to the U.S. and began to research and study this for the past 30 some odd years. And as he studied that, he developed techniques for secular mindfulness that have nothing to do with religion. And mindfulness, the way of living in mindfulness, can be a spiritual path if you choose it to be. It will enrich and support your own spiritual life, your own religion that you might follow, if that's what you choose. And it kind of does, mindfulness does what all religions set out to do, which is encourages us and draws us toward being more familiar with the practices of steady, kind attention, loving kindness, compassion, gratitude, and all of those things. So let's go over this on your worksheet and kind of revisit these. So mindfulness is not quieting or clearing the mind. It is getting to know the mind. It is looking at the mind, being with all the thoughts, right? Mindfulness is not about relaxation. The goal is to be goalless. Our goal isn't to relax. It's never ever to relax. Mindfulness is not suppressing negative feelings. It is an awareness and an acceptance of all of our feelings and all of our sensations, good and bad, and what this does is develops a new relationship to those things so that we can experience them with more confidence, more skill, and then we don't need little niggles of depression or anxiety coming up to bother us in our life or affect our decisions, because we're actually aware of those things and we're accepting them as they're coming up, and then we're skillfully dealing with them, right? Okay, and then mindfulness is not a quick fix. We can't just quickly fix our anxiety or depression or whatever it is. It really is a new lens through which we are looking at life, and that's a process that takes time to develop. Mindfulness is not a technique. It's a way of living. It's a way of walking, a way of brushing our teeth. It's a way of communicating with our children and our boss and our spouse. It is a way of interacting with ourselves and showing ourselves kindness in a new way. It is a way of living every single second of our life. It's a way of life. Mindfulness is not religion, but it is a cultivation of compassion, just like any religion is. Okay. Today, our exercise will be the body scan, and I'm excited about this one. The body scan is about training the mind to be right where you are, And so we're going to take a journey through the body, and we're going to pay attention to the different areas of the body one by one. We're going to do the short version today. We're going to start with our feet. We're going to feel our legs, our torso. We're going to feel our shoulders, our hands and arms, and neck and head. And then we'll finish with opening our awareness to the entire body. And it's going to feel a little bit different than anything you've ever done before, tuning into the body like this. And this is our second class here. We did a grounding exercise last time, but the body scan is taught as the first formal practice in the mindfulness-based stress reduction program that was originally created by John Kabat-Zinn, who we mentioned before. And so body scan is taught as the first formal practice, and that is because there's a constant change of focus, and it's easier for beginners to move their attention from here to here to here rather than just sitting in meditation and learning to watch our thoughts and all of that right away. The body scan is taught first because it really helps us take our focus away from cognition or thinking, right? Mindfulness is about embodiment, deepening the mind-body connection and getting reacquainted with the body and the physical sensations as they manifest, and they manifest as sensual or emotional responses to life, right? What happens in the brain or mind influences the body, and the things that happen in the body influence the brain. And many people are disconnected from the body, and they can't detect their emotions in the body, which is very interesting, because once we learn how to detect our emotions in the body, we are more intuitive, we're more in tune, we can actually feel and detect danger, or we can feel and detect what is right or wrong for us a little bit easier, or maybe a whole lot easier, once we are connected with the body, because the what we observe and experience actually shows up in the body before it shows up as thoughts in our mind. And so we need to learn or relearn how to detect our emotions in our body. And so let's fill that in on your worksheet where it says, in the body scan, we take our focus away from cognition to deepen the mind-body connection. And we learn a lot just from this tiny little body scan process that we do. And I'm saying tiny little, it seems like a simple concept, and today we'll do a short version, but there is a very long version, and it is in fact not simple. There's a lot we learn from this. So we learn, first of all, letting go. We learn, secondly, tolerating. We learn acceptance and accepting. So how is that, right? We will find that as we scan through the body, certain areas of the body that we feel into might feel pleasant to us. Like when we feel into our hands or our face, it feels pleasant. For some people that's not true, but we might want to linger a little bit longer in the areas that feel pleasant. But we learn to move on to the next thing, right? We learn letting go. We learn, okay, we're going to move on, right? And that can be helpful in life because when we learn to move on from things that are pleasurable, we don't stay in just the fun and the joy. We actually get to deal with the other side of things and actually live inside of all of life and not just live in one half of life, right? We learn tolerating because as we go through the body, we might feel some areas of discomfort and we might not want to feel painful sensations. But mindfulness and the body scan teach us to stay or repeatedly return to that area of the body until it's time to move on. And I'll give you a little instruction on that in a moment. But on your worksheet, it says we learn letting go of what we desire to cling to and tolerating or accepting what we might have an aversion to. Okay, we learn letting go and we learn tolerating. Another major thing we learn is non-striving. We talked about this a second ago. We are asking nothing of the body. We're not asking anything of the body. We're more just receiving the sensations that are already there in the body, which might be completely new. Normally, we only pay attention to the body when we want it to do something, when we want it to perform, when we want it to look good, right? And it can be challenging in the beginning to just receive and not ask anything of the body. So let's fill that in on your worksheet. We learn non-striving, dropping the need for purpose and embracing a sense of receptivity. Now, this receptivity is so important because when we want to manifest things, we want to be open and receptive. If we are striving to be somewhere else, then we're not open and receptive to the magic and the abundance that's right here for us. And a lot of times, the magic and the abundance that's right here for us and waiting to be let in is actually better than what we were striving for. And so when we stop striving for that goal and grasping and reaching and making it happen, right, then we're receptive and we're open and things can come to us that maybe wouldn't have if we were striving or grasping or closing ourselves off to other possibilities and opening ourselves. It doesn't mean that we don't have goals in life and we're not setting standards for ourselves and things like that. There's a balance there, but non-striving and receptivity are something that we want to tap into, and we can learn to do that with the body scan. We start to learn that. We're going to learn that over and over and over again with all of the mindfulness exercises. In terms of the body scan, we're also learning to deal with pain differently. learning to deal with pain differently. We're bringing each part of the body into awareness with kindness, even if what we are noticing is unpleasant. Mindfulness is used a lot in pain management and hospitals and overcoming and recovering from injury and things like that. And so this is really important to be able to touch on, come into contact with, and turn toward our pain instead of just ignoring it, and stuffing it down. So what's important here for you to know when we're in the body scan practice, when pain or discomfort feels too overwhelming, what we do is skillfully take our attention over to another area of the body that might feel good. So if our hands feel good, then we might take our attention from the aching back to the hands. And that's only if it's too overwhelming. Otherwise, we just stay with that ache for a moment and we just kind of breathe with that feeling and feeling that sensation. But again, if something's too overwhelming, we skillfully take our attention over to something else that feels comfortable, or the breath. The breath is always a good anchor to come back to. And so what this does is, trains our nervous system not to just focus on pain. That's what happens in a lot of people who have chronic injury. They'll either ignore the pain to the point of denial, or they will just focus on the pain and just feel so much pain, and they're trying to deal with it, and that makes them grumpy or unable to handle this or that and whatnot. Same thing with stuffing it down and denying it. It's actually causing people to be, interact with the world in a more angry or nervous way, in some kind of way, if they are just stuffing it down and denying it. So on your sheet, it says we learn to deal with pain differently, training the nervous system and the mind that pleasant experiences exist simultaneous to discomfort. Pleasant experiences exist simultaneous to discomfort. And that's another way of training the nervous system to realize that, oh, okay, I'm not just in pain. I'm in pain here, but gosh, my feet feel good. My hands feel great. My face feels good, right? My breathing I can feel my breathing and it doesn't hurt, right? And those different areas might be a different case for everybody. For, some people might have injury to the hands or the feet or the face or things like that, whereas those areas feel pleasant to someone else. So we have to just focus on individually what our experience is, right? All right, so that's a lot of the things that you learn from the body scan. Let me see if I can show you some notes. We have constant change of focus. We have taking the focus away from cognition, learning to let go. Now we're going to talk about posture. Okay, so while we're doing the body scan, we want to be comfortable in our seats and in a comfy position. We might have our eyes open with a soft gaze at the floor. We might have our eyes closed. But we want to be in a posture where we're not going to fall asleep. So when I do a body scan, I have to sit up. Otherwise, I will fall asleep. And sometimes I can't just sit up like in a chair where I have my back on the chair. I can't sit next to my bed, leaning on my bed. I have to sit up perfectly straight, and or maybe not perfectly straight, but up straight and not in any contact with my back, because I'll start to fall asleep even then. There are other methods that mindfulness practitioners use where they hold their fingers in a certain way so that if they do start to nod off, their hand will fall and they'll realize it'll wake them up or whatever. So, but those are more advanced techniques. So right now, what you need to know about posture is that you're comfortable and you're not in a posture where you're going to fall asleep. The other thing about the body scan, another thing to look at about the body scan, is what we're paying attention to. as we move through the body. It's different than maybe just a meditation where you're relaxing different parts of the body. Again, we're not striving to relax anything ever. Even in the body scan, we're not trying to relax. It may happen, and a lot of times it's likely to happen, but we're not striving for that. So, what do we pay attention to? We pay attention to sensations or the absence of sensations in the different areas of the body one by one. So we'll talk about that. Sensations or absence of sensations. That's pretty interesting. So we might feel sensations such as temperature, proprioception, which is our position in space, pressure, tingling, tension, touch. We might feel fabric on our skin. We might feel the chair behind us. We might feel one hand touching the other as we just relax there and cradle our hands. We are feeling into what is already there and not what we think we should feel, right? Not what we think we should feel. And we'll talk about that in a second. But on your sheet, it says, we pay attention to sensation or absence of sensation. What's already there, not what we think we should feel. Now, what we think we should feel. Let's get into that. Let's unpack that a little bit. Numbness counts as a sensation. That's there on your worksheet as well. Numbness counts as a sensation. So sometimes we will get to a part in the body scan where we can't feel the body. Some people can't feel their pinky toe or their thighs or their elbow. There might be some random part of the body that you can't feel a sensation. Some people are so disconnected from the body that they don't feel anything. They just feel numbness in most of the body scan, and that takes practice. It just means they need more of the body scan in order to tune in and connect with the body even more. So there is no need to elicit a sensation if there is none, right? So if I can't feel my pinky toe, I might want to wiggle that toe just so I can feel it. But again, our point is never to strive to feel something, to be where we're not. Where I am is numbness. I don't feel my toe. Where I have an urge to be is to feel my toe. So I have this urge to wiggle my toe. But another thing we learn with the body scan and with all of mindfulness is there is never a need to react to an urge. That's huge. That's so huge. And that's actually a concept that's used in addiction recovery with mindfulness. And we'll touch on that big time when we get to mindfulness of eating. So again, no need to elicit a sensation if there is none. See the impulse. Don't judge the impulse. Don't be hard on yourself as, oh, there goes my impulse. That's wrong. Just observe the urge and tell yourself there's no need to react to the urge, right? If there is no sensation, this might make sense to you. You can pay attention to that part of the body as if the numbness is the sensation. It's kind of like listening for the sound of silence. I don't know if you've ever done that with music where you're listening to a song and in between each note you can listen for the sound of silence. It's a really beautiful exercise. But so we're just paying attention. If there's no sensation, we're just paying attention as if there is a sensation there. Okay. So we talked about attention, we talked about non-striving, and we talked about pain. Now we're going to actually do the body scan here. Okay. And so it's up to you now. We're going to get ready for the body scan. Set aside your worksheet. Start getting comfortable. It's up to you if you want to close your eyes or if you just want to lower your gaze. It's your choice. I'm going to take a little sip of water here while you're finding a comfortable posture for yourself. One that you're not going to fall asleep in. So finding that comfortable posture, feeling into your body, lying here, sitting here, right now. Just feel into the body, the whole body. It's lying here, it's sitting here. And you can feel the areas of contact in this moment, where your feet are touching your socks or the floor, or maybe your feet are touching a part of your body. Feeling the legs and the contact they have with the seat that you're sitting on. Your back, does it have contact with anything? Do your arms have contact with any part of your body resting on your torso? Or do you feel fabric on your skin? The head? Just maybe if there's contact with anything. We're just kind of scanning the whole body right now. Maybe you're also noticing your breath that's entering and leaving your body. And I'll provide a little more instruction or repeat instruction from what we said before. The intention here is to be present with our body without wanting anything at all. Not even relaxation, remember? Of course, it is nice to relax, and it's great if it happens. We're receptive to that happening, but it's not the goal of the body scan. The goal is just to be checking in with each area of the body in a non-judgmental way as I guide you through that. We simply feel what is there to feel. There's no need to stir up sensations by moving the body. And you might notice that there are areas of the body that you might not be able to feel at all, and that's normal. We're just checking in as if we could feel something. And we are going to be starting with the feet. I want you to feel into both feet right now. The bottoms, the tops, the toes and the heels, just feeling into both of your feet right now. Feeling into the areas where your feet are touching the ground or chair or whatever they're touching. Maybe feeling your toes or not. Maybe feeling tingling or temperature or not. And if you find it helpful, you can imagine that you're breathing into this area of the body, as if your attention could ride on the breath, or as if your attention would light up the area like it was a flashlight. Feeling into the feet. And now moving the attention to your ankles and your lower legs. Curious and receptive. What is here to feel, if anything at all? Maybe the pressure of your calves against some sort of surface or fabric on the skin. And if you notice that your attention is suddenly somewhere else, that's a celebration. Just gently and without judging, return it to your legs. It's not a problem. The mind likes to wander, and it will. And every time we notice it wandering, we have done mindfulness. That's why it's a celebration, not a judgment. And now letting go of the lower legs and moving the attention to your knees and your thighs. What is here to feel? Again, maybe there's pressure, temperature. Maybe you can feel the position of your legs or nothing at all. Numbness counts as a sensation in this type of practice. And if you've noticed your mind wandering, you've done mindfulness exactly right. That moment of noticing, that's what mindfulness is. Bringing the attention back to the knees and the thighs. And now letting go of the thighs and moving the attention to the lower trunk, the pelvis and the belly, up to the belly button. Noticing any sensation in this area. Maybe the feeling of breath in the lower belly, or not. And then letting go and now feeling into the upper trunk, the stomach area, the chest. Feeling the sensations of the breath here with each inhalation and each exhalation. Feeling the spine against the floor or the chair. Maybe just feeling the sensation of fabric against your back. Noticing that thinking about an area or picturing it in your mind's eye is different from actually feeling it. And the spine is an interesting place, or the back, to feel into. You're noticing any sensations that are here or the absence of sensations, because maybe some areas with the curve of the spine have contact and others don't. Feeling into the back and the spine. And remember, if there's any discomfort, you can bring your attention skillfully over to the breath or the hands if it's an overwhelming discomfort. And then back to the back again. In a longer body scan practice, you would do that a number of times, training the mind that pleasant experiences exist simultaneous to any discomfort there might be. And from here, now moving the attention into your hands, feeling your hands. And some people might notice how well you can feel your hands without having to see them. How do we know we have hands without even looking, right? We're curious, we're receptive, feeling the individual fingers maybe. Feeling the position of your hands and if they're touching anything. And when you're ready, moving the attention to the wrists and the forearms now. What is here to feel? Is there touch, pressure, warmth? And now moving the attention to your elbows and upper arms. Noticing any sensations here. And if your mind wanders off, just bringing it back to wherever we are, just starting again. The act of bringing the mind back is what mindfulness is. It's being aware that the mind has wandered. And then choosing, using your power of choice to bring it back to the body, the elbows and the upper arms. And from here, moving the attention to your shoulders, the back of your neck, and then to your head. Feeling into your jaw. Feeling into the face. What does the face feel like? How often do we really pay attention to these sensations? The mouth, the nose, the cheeks, the eyes, the forehead, and then the entire face. And now opening the awareness to include the entire body again. Just lying or sitting here. Being alive, breathing. Maybe you can feel the hum of life in the body. If you'd like, you can imagine to be breathing from the crown of your head all the way down to your toes and up and out again. I personally like to imagine being breathed by the divine without having to do anything at all. The breath just moves itself. And noticing all the sensations of the body, holding them in your awareness with kindness, and allowing them to be just as they are in this moment. Allowing some movement back into the body, like wiggling your fingers or toes gently and softly. Maybe you begin to move, stretch the arms, torso, the ankles and the feet, any way it wants, if that feels good to you. And when you're ready in your own time, opening your eyes. You might come back into a seated position if you aren't already. And taking a moment to reflect on your experience in this new moment. Notice what sensations are present in your body right now. Observe the thoughts going through your mind. And check in with the emotions of this moment. Just checking in. Maybe you notice a difference between before this exercise and now. maybe not. Notice also any eagerness to write something down or talk or move, or any eagerness or clinging to go back into that meditation, right? And so if we are clinging to the past, we are striving to be back somewhere where we aren't. And sometimes when we come out of meditation, our busyness just comes pouring right back in, which is fine. And we just observe that. Just observe the thoughts. We check in with our emotions. Maybe that the feeling from the meditation just lasts in your body and in your mind. And you might wonder, was it clear for me that I was feeling the sensations of the body and not thinking about the body? And maybe you ask yourself if I had any difficulties through this process. If we were in a group class, we would have 2 out of 10 people would say they had struggle or difficulty, at least that many. Just noticing, did you have any boredom, anxiety, pain? Did you have any urges to move? If you're noticing that you had boredom, that is mindfulness. If you're noticing that you had anxiety, that is mindfulness. The noticing. If you are noticing you had urges to move, that's mindfulness. If you are noticing that you gave in to urges to move, that is mindfulness. And all of the experiences that you could have possibly had are all normal, right? Any area of the body you couldn't feel, if the whole meditation was just peaceful for you, if whatever that experience was, it's exactly normal and what is meant for you in that moment, right? So noticing all of it, even if we had trouble paying attention, and even if we couldn't feel, you did it just right because you noticed that. You noticed that it's hard to pay attention. You noticed that you couldn't feel, right? So mindfulness was right at work no matter what your experience was through the body scan. All right. So there's a lot of resistance and blocks that are bound to come up. And without the awareness of them, we won't have as much willpower for fighting them. And I mean blocks and resistance to doing your practice or to being in the practice. Mindfulness only works if we work it. It's like exercise. If I want to be fit and healthy, I have to take the time to cook, to prep my meals, to exercise, and I have to do it on a regular basis. I can't just learn from a lecture. I can't read a book about being fit and then I'm fit, right? It's the same exact thing with meditation. I can't just exercise one time and then I'm fit. I can't learn how to cook by just reading a book. Mindfulness only works if I work it. That's on your worksheet. We have an entitlement to comfort in our society. We have gone from caveman to remotes and smartphones that make our life easy and simple and comfortable. But here in mindfulness, we are learning how to sit with the discomfort instead. Another block that comes up is that we want to be realistic, right? Sometimes our mind is harsh and is judging ourselves and wants to make rigid commitments. But we want to be in a space where we are flexible with our commitments, especially right now. You are building your practice, so you want to play around with it. What's the best time of day? How many days a week do I need to do this? Which days of the week are best for me? how long, right? If you think you can only do meditation for 5 minutes, try it for 15 minutes and see what happens. You might surprise yourself. If you are doing mindfulness in the morning, play with doing it in the middle of the day or at the end of the day, and figure out which are the days and the times and the amount of time that are best for me, right? And eventually we want to get to the point where we are creating our practice at the same time every day, whether that's every single day at 8 a.m. or it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 and every Tuesday, Thursday at 12. We want to be consistent in some kind of way eventually, but right now play with it. Do 1 week where you do your mindfulness in the morning, or 3 days here or there, or different things. So play with it. Another block is being harming toward ourselves. I keep mentioning it over and over, being harsh or judgmental with ourselves. That's the way the mind works in the world right now, and we're training ourselves out of it. And in yogic philosophy, this non-harming is called ahimsa, and I believe that's on your sheet. I must remember to cultivate ahimsa, A-H-I-M-S-A, A-H-I-M-S-A. This is a state of being non-harming to myself through judgments, and reminding ourselves it is possible to be consistent as well as flexible with our commitments to ourselves, right? For these blocks, for this resistance to come up against those, we want to pick some inspiration, anything that's helpful to bring to mind when you're debating whether or not to do meditation. What inspires you, right? Is it awareness? Is it connection to God force? Is it, things like that, right? And remember, expecting connection to God force to be euphoric is not always the case. God force is everything. It's the positive and the negative. It's the duality of all. It's the light and the dark. It's why we have day and night, and that the moon goes through phases of darkness and light. It's all to remind ourselves that all of it is the divine. All of it is the God force. All right, so let's wrap it up. How often do we need the body scan is the question. So right now, I suggest for the next 2 weeks, do the body scan every day. You can add it to your current practice or replace your current practice with it. If you are already practicing mindfulness for 15-20 minutes a day, you may want to find a body scan meditation that's 45 minutes long. I think you'll find it doable and actually likable. You can also, I want to say, if you are doing guided body scan meditations, you can re-listen to this recording and just kind of fast forward to the point where we do that. Or you can I want you to find mindfulness body scan. There are tons of body scan meditations out there that aren't mindfulness body scans. So while you're learning, I suggest you to find the mindfulness body scans. There is one by Jon Kabat-Zinn, and that's like the original, right, body scan meditation of secular mindfulness. He's got 20-minute version and a 45-minute version, so I suggest playing around with it. Those who need the body scan practice the most and should continue doing it at least once a week for 45 minutes, if not every day for 45 minutes, are people who have weight or food disorder issues, sexual abuse history, mental illness, things like that. Or if you've done this and you feel out of tune with your body, or you feel a lot of numbness there or lack of sensation, then I would say minimum once weekly, ongoing, and ideally daily for a few weeks right now. And and start mixing it in with other types of mindfulness meditation practice. So if you're sitting for 5 minutes and you're just being with the body, now add on scanning the body too. And fill in that last part of your sheet, how many minutes of meditation you're going to do. You're going to do the mindful body scan 1 or more times this week. The blank that you need to fill in says the resources I give to myself, I receive in turn. And my meditation journey will not always be easy. Okay. And then check off the things that you want to improve in your meditation practice. And then circle just one of those at the bottom that you are going to really focus on this week. Because if you try and focus on all of them, you're going to get overwhelmed and then you're going to resist your practice altogether. So your self-empowerment opportunity this week is at least 5 to 10 minutes of meditation daily. Try playing around with the time. If you're doing 5 now, do 7 or raise it to 10. And then the body scan 1 to 3 times this week minimum, whether that's alongside or included or in place of your meditation, right? Okay. Okay. Yep, we got all that. And here's my contact info. The only valid contact info on this card right now is my email address there on the right and my phone number. The rest of the things are kind of not up at the moment and under repair at the time of this recording in December of 2021. But I hope you've enjoyed this practice of mindfulness, and I hope that you've learned a lot. And I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out. This has been Jenna Allen, and this is Mindfulness, Manifesting, and Meditation. You take care and be well.